Good morning, Australia, and good morning to the world. Welcome to Under the Wire. This is your home for censored and suppressed information, a place that supports everyone's right to freedom of speech, freedom of bodily integrity, and freedom to communicate with one another in any way, means, shape, or form that we deem necessary. It is good to see you here today. I am so pleased to tell you that I'm going to be speaking with Serene Teffaha, who is an amazing person. I think she is the busiest person in Australia right now. And she has started a class action. She's working with a lot of people, and she's doing amazing things to protect Australians' rights right now. So without further ado, I am going to get Serene to join me. Hello, Serene. How are you?
How are
I'm
you? Thank you
great.
very much
Thank
for having
you. I'm so glad you could come. I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate you doing that. So,
my pleasure.
I think a lot of the people who are here would already know a little bit about you, but if you can give a bit of background about how you came to this issue and why you decided to take this action, that would be great.
When the state of emergency was first declared in March, most states and territories and the Commonwealth made declaration around that time. I started to get immediately clients coming through the door in relation to immediate effects through business. Obviously other restrictions that were immediately placed on them that that they could project that was going to go wrong for them. The other significant one came in May in relation to the directives for influenza vaccines to all aged care facilities, and there are many healthcare workers and people who visit their elderly, a family member who have very strong convictions, okay, about bodily autonomy and self-determination and the risks that may be entailed to receiving the influenza vaccine. Also, what came along that are very strong restrictions in terms of exemptions. What previously was allowed via immunocompromised individuals as an exception, all of a sudden, immunocompromised people should get the vaccine, which is extremely problematic because that was actually previously a recognized head of exception or an exemption from getting a vaccine. And this also links very much to the fact that there are so many people in our community who are immunocompromised. And one has to beg the question, what are all the myriad of factors that have contributed to the rising issues of health crisis all round in this country? It's not just about vaccine risks. It's about risks to all health issues. So that became frontline and center for me at that point because those were the clients that coming through the door. So I felt it was good to do and set up a class action to deal with the same complaint that was coming from many different people. But of course, just in the last couple of weeks, as we've witnessed, things have exploded. So what small things were initially in terms of restrictions, businesses, then vaccine issue, then it became every other issue with testing and contact tracing and detainment, detaining people, cross borders, border closures, curfews, as in we're seeing now in Victoria. So all of a sudden it just exploded and it became a lot more people impacted. And that was probably a good thing because people need to start to feel the heat, in my opinion. People need to start to understand what are the core issues here that are fundamentally driving these extremely intrusive decisions that are being made by our bureaucrats on our life, on every single right we have: movement, right of freedom to speak about issues, right to express, what goes into your body and what not, when you get tested and when you don't. Everyone feels now, in terms of government bureaucrats, that they have rights over you, even if you're not ill or even if you don't have any risks. All healthy people now have become fair game. Anyone can be targeted. So that's where I thought, okay, in the last couple of weeks, I have to respond accordingly. And so I widened the class action to say, well, I'm getting now a whole heap of people complaining to be about so many different aspects, particularly cross-border detention and things that are outrageous, like targeting disabled people, for example, at cross borders, holding Asperger's girl in detention where we needed to take her out of there, and previously Down syndrome girl and a pregnant girl, with separating them between their mothers and the carers. So there's some real extreme situations that are coming out of this that are truly mind-boggling. Okay, and yeah, so
Yeah,
I felt like we need to actually bring this issue collectively together.
I have to tell you, Serene, as a student of history, I love history, I love studying it. I look at what's happening here in Australia, and I think of the parallels between what is going on here now and what was going on in Germany in the early 1930s when Hitler started to rise to power. And it is so similar. The language that's being used, the us versus them, everything is the same. The government is trying to split us apart and
Yes.
make people fearful of the other. Instead of the Jews, it's the unvaccinated. It
Yes,
is,
no, I don't even think it's just about the unvaccinated or the people who have vaccine concerns. Who, by the way, there's a lot of healthcare workers and people who are highly professional. In fact, a lot of the people that have the concerns come from middle class and upper classes because they're very well read on this issue. So there's kind of like a little bit of misunderstanding in the community as to who actually these anti-vaxxers are. They're actually quite educated people. So it's really interesting when there's this misconception that somehow anti-vaxxers are these conspiracy theorists who come from low socioeconomic circles. Is in fact that's not really true at all.
yeah,
In fact, they often come from people who have got the ability to research very well. I see this as a really bigger issue. It is truly about every facet of our lives, every facet of our rights. They want to detain us when they want to detain us. They want to tell us when to move and how to move. They want to tell us what's essential and what's not. They want to dictate to us every single aspect of our lives, and purporting very falsely that this threat is far more bigger than what it is.
yeah.
Now, we've got statistics on this threat. We've got the statistics about the pattern of this virus. And then you've got other things that they say that are always about gaslighting you. Oh, well, we've closed down. That's why we've contained the virus. I'm afraid a partial lockdown is not a lockdown, my friends, okay? Opening up your shops every night for all the grubby hands to be touching all the fruit and the vegetables on every stall and the touch screens, and no social distancing in terms of parking lots that are filled every day of every moment in the last 5 months is not lockdown. Okay, so please take this deluded aspect out. These things cannot be measured. So we haven't had a proper lockdown, really. So really the virus, or the movement of the virus and how it contaminates and how it moves, first of all, needs to be analyzed in the context that we must assume we haven't really had a proper lockdown. Okay, so those are the numbers that we must take on face value. And what we've learned is that this virus is highly contagious. Okay, so it will spread, and it is a very fast moving virus. And what we've learned is that herd immunity may be actually working as we speak in the last 5 months very successfully. And asymptomatics seems to be the way to go. With that seems to be a larger percentage of what is being displayed with this virus. And secondly, very mild symptoms are being exhibited, and in those that it's showing a serious infection, it's in those that are more likely to have comorbidity of diseases, or people who are extremely tired and exhausted and who are prone to catching it, like our health workers.
Yep.
I mean, who've been so tired out working in the hospitals, okay? So we understand the movement of this virus. And so I'm saying, let's look at the facts. Let's analyze causal fatality rates. Let's look at the rational picture of how this virus is moving. What are the likely assumptions that we can make, and take the appropriate steps to mitigate that? And that is really to protect vulnerable. And what we're seeing actually from our government is that they're far more invested in actually in actually quarantining the healthy and putting far more money into policing and into the military and into surveillance and all of these other issues to use this, okay, to excuse so many other things that they're actually bringing in and focusing on healthy people. Meanwhile, our health workers are not being provided proper PPE in the hospitals. They're raising now issues about why are you not giving us PPE? Well, you've got millions of dollars that are being spent on punishing and quarantining and border closures and things that absolutely don't make any sense scientifically, okay, and discriminatory rules in terms of which businesses can open up and which can't, which have no scientific legitimacy or basis. And yet, the people that most certainly need it, like proper nutritional programs for all of the elderly that you're holding inside, proper ways in which they can be taken outside, proper observers being put into these elderly spaces to ensure that there's no elderly abuse that's taking place.
Mm.
Proper support for all of our healthcare workers, good support to get more health workers put onto rosters. So
And
we're talking about balance. And
yep.
also, we're seeing as part of this too is this narrative that they're lying about the kind of resourcing that we could actually use right now through medication. Okay, we've got a number of medications that have been suggested by our leading Dr. Thomas Borodi. He is a wonderful doctor who is obviously quite intelligent, and he's done a number of trials across, I mean, in the US and other countries. I mean, he's from Australia. He should be given the biggest platform, okay, here. And ivermectin should be supplied immediately to those that need it. But no, there are agendas and narratives that are being played that are about profiteering, okay? And when you've got, as I said, the Prime Minister signing deals, preemptive deals, I mean,
Mm.
really, what an awful thing. He's just signed a deal before the delivery of the product. He's
Before
signing.
it's been tested.
So resisted. I mean, what does that say to me? You've been bought by this company. I mean, what benefit are you getting to sign a deal before they've delivered to you your product? Okay, and we all know the AstraZeneca, what kind of company it is. I don't need to continue on that. So my concern is this: where's the logic? Where's the proportionality? It's gone out the window. And not just that, you've got then healthcare work, doctors and nurses who are can see, and then you've got doctors and nurses who are completely blinded by the narrative. Okay, all of a sudden you have to wear a mask. All of a sudden you have to have your temperature tested. All of a sudden we're all sick. All of a sudden, me talking to you without a mask is risking everything. This is an outrage. I mean, how can you trust medical professionals who actually believe this dogma? Okay, that if it's sufficient for me to have a 1.5 meter distance between you and me to create that protection. So don't get me wrong, I'm all for in wintertime, and I've had this discussion in the past in terms of our sick leave, for example, and how people I get, who are sick still feel they have to go to work because they're not properly supported by employers. So I'm all for providing proper strategies like support the sick leave structure for employers, provide proper subsidies in terms of sick leave requirements, increase the sick leave requirements, and don't come hard on your employees if they need to take time out, if they're really truly sick and must quarantine. Okay,
Yeah.
so ensure do apply some good measures in terms of hygiene when you go to the shops and when you are in businesses during winter time. Have sort of a capacity limit on each business, have proper social distancing to minimize the risk of infection during winter time and not have a repeat of what happened perhaps in the influenza season in 2017. So I'm all for proper containment in that way, but I'm not for complete destruction of businesses,
No.
discrimination, detaining of healthy people, okay, testing people who are healthy when they don't have an issue, okay, and don't have a risk, not providing proper prescribed contact information when you're contact tracing.
Yep.
So I'm not for that.
Serene, let me ask you a question. Is there a requirement for the government to provide evidence that they have based their policies on the best available science? Because, for instance, the 1.5 meter social distancing, we use 1.5 meter in the United States. It's twice that in Europe. It's a little bit more. I think it's 2 meters. It's 3 meters in the US. Why all these differences? What have they based this on? Do they have to prove that they have actually done some scientific research, or do they pull those figures and that policy out of their rear end?
Yeah,
Sorry.
look, yeah, most certainly there are certain scientific basis in terms of situations where there is really high risk. Okay, so the first thing you have to determine before you apply any process is to determine the risk level. Okay, so are we at a situation where the risk is so high that the contagion that is highly infectious, let's say, is also creating very serious results and after effects. So if a contagion is being shown that it is killing a lot of people, and it's actually killing a lot of healthy people, then there's certain measures that may be brought in to contain it for the time being. But what we've seen in this COVID-19 is, as I said earlier in the interview, is that the patterns are not showing a highly dangerous outcome in most people. Okay, so then you can't say or label this virus as highly dangerous. This is a virus that has certain risks for certain people in our society. This is appropriate language, okay? And language is extremely important because what our governments are doing is fear mongering. Then you've got the different standards globally, coming back to the social distancing issues, masking issues, discrimination in business closures, different rules that apply for one person to another. It is not scientific to bring in dogma and political will in science. Okay, so what's ending up happening is that science has become a space of where it's become politically hijacked. When you've got governments paying scientists to say certain things, you will have that said. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, that mainstream becomes the truth. Okay, when in reality, when you look at randomized clinical trials and you look at the evidence and you look at all the different issues that you have and the various different studies, and this is again, there's a study called psychometrics, and psychometrics breaks down the flawed nature of statistics. So the processes, so you could have statistics and data. So what psychometrics say, well, you've done a meta-analysis here, but look at all the flaws in your study. You've done an RCT here, but look at all your flaws in the study. You've done an observational study, which is very low, bro, okay? And psychometrics comes in and breaks down how you've gathered that data to create somehow a scientific legitimacy to something actually driven by political agenda. Okay, because you look at the funders and you look at who actually is trying to create that narrative. So, what science ends up being is also differences of opinions. Okay, now that's not really science. Science is an empty page where we're continuously challenging the narrative. Okay, science is about discovery, science is about possibilities, okay, probabilities,
Yep.
okay, it's not about settled. Science never presents itself as settled because nothing is ever settled in science. What we need to use is the information before us and use proper psychometrics to really analyze the data that we have, okay? And what overwhelmingly we have is fine. In highly contagious spaces, some social distancing may work, and it's not completely proven.
No.
However, it may work. However, jumping to then isolation, detainment, masking, it's been shown that a lot of these things are not going to work on healthy populations. You're wasting your time. Where you actually need to be looking at is protecting those who are in the high risk groups. Now, that doesn't mean also isolating them and detaining them without any sun and exercise and walking and all that. So all of a sudden, these scientists are saying, oh, these doctors, lock them down. Don't let them go out into the sun. I mean, are you kidding me? Okay, don't detain these people for 14 days in a hotel where the air is continuously cycling and the
It's
sanitation is
crazy.
very clean. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
It's outrageous. There is nothing scientific about the processes they're adopting. Close the borders. What, you think the virus is all of a sudden going to stop at the border? It's going to say, "Oh my God, I'm here, no more." Okay. Yeah, or influenza statistics in Queensland and New South Wales are now higher than Victoria. Is that what the virus is saying? Oh, I'm not going to step here anymore. It's
Daniel Andrews said, no flu allowed in
no
Victoria.
flu.
We're
Not, we
doing it.
don't want no flu this year, guys. Okay, we only want COVID. All right, guys, make it work for me. Make it work for me. Okay, and so to me, these are, and then when I'm talking like that and I'm presenting the evidence, people get angry, and it's like, well, okay, I'm showing you the facts.
Mm.
But you're getting really upset, okay? Because it's people, unfortunately, who are in the medical fields have been
Mm.
brainwashed by the mainstream narrative,
Yep.
okay? And so all of a sudden, masks yesterday weren't helpful. Today they're helpful. All of a sudden they're jumping ship. Okay, all of a sudden masks are all in a bit. Okay, well, we're going to ignore all those RCT studies that even showed surgeons don't need to wear the mask. There's very little um, effect that they may have.
Yep.
Okay, but all of a sudden, any study that they don't like, they don't believe in, and any study that they like, they'll believe in. Okay,
Yep.
and the same with the narrative on the
Very
other side.
selective. Very selective.
When you have studies that are showing so many contradictions, you've got
Mm.
to ask yourself, what's going on here? Okay, something is not quite adding up. And this is where psychometrics comes in and goes tick, 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 tick. Let's break down this whole thing.
Yep.
And actually, the truth is often somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
Somewhere in the middle.
So, Serene, this is great information, and it's wonderful to see that you are around this whole thing. What my question is, and I'll be going through some of the questions people are asking too, is are there any protections in Australia to help us preserve our basic human rights and our rights to bodily integrity? Does the government have untethered access to ourselves, our jobs, our lives, our health, our children? Is there any protection here for us?
Look, I love Australian law, okay? And the reason why I do is because, whilst we might not have a Bill of Rights, okay, there is a body of law that has developed both from statute, and that means legislation, and also from the common law, which is the judiciary applying various different analysis to torts and other claims that have developed through the common law.
Right.
Okay, and so I look at that history and heritage, and I see that there's a lot in it that is very good, and it is very beautiful, and it's extremely helpful. Okay, we have bodies of laws even in this debate that we're having. A lot of people are angry at me because I'm saying I think the Biosecurity Act is a superior law because it considered things, and it covered the field in such a wonderful way that it looked at things in a better way. Now, am I critical of the Biosecurity Act? Yes, there are things in it I'm very critical of. Okay, still, but on the whole, I could see the attempt in the Biosecurity Act and the ones who drafted it to try and balance the constitutional rights of self-determination and freedom of political speech and, bodily autonomy, and the freedom of making choices and informed consent. I see that it had tried to delicately balance between those things. So when it comes to what we call biosecurity measures, and these are the things that most people find annoying and quite personal, is this bodily intrusion, being tested, being diagnosed, being detained, being vaccinated, being told to be isolated so that we could test you and medically examine you and interfere with your person. There are certain requirements and steps, okay? And those requirements and steps are that you must be directly exposed to the disease, okay, that they're concerned about. And that doesn't just mean, oh, they're in the vicinity, it's just all the community, it's just they were somewhere around, okay. It actually means direct contact, close proximity, okay, and direct exposure to the infection or the contamination of contagion. Now, the opinion of so many people is like, oh, we all are exposed, so lock the whole thing down. That is not how you interpret that legislation, okay? And it surprises me that a lot of people who have their rights been taken away from them are actually defending the states and territories on this level and saying, yes, come and abuse me. I'm yours, come and abuse me as you see fit. I trust you implicitly. And I think that that is just so ridiculous, because what I'm saying is, no, I'm sorry, let's have a look at what the terms exposure means. Let's also have a look at prescribed contact information. So when an authorized individual wants to do that to you, they have to show and issue you a public health order or biosecurity control order that shows you when and how you have been exposed. They can't just say, you've been around here. It's in the neighborhood. Yes. Okay. Oh, it's just down the road. Okay. So we're not going to tell you who the prescribed contact information. Look it up. It's in the regulations. Look at the term, what prescribed contact information is that you need to be provided before you are requested to be detained or isolated and tested. And for a suspicion that you have a particular ailment or disease, okay, that is serious enough for you then to be detained to that level. So there are requirements and steps, and people are angry, oh, it doesn't apply.
But
The
the
biosecurity
bios, they
doesn't
have these
apply.
steps and these requirements, and
They do
yet the
have,
governments are not abiding by them.
exactly. And the irony is, it's not just in the Biosecurity Act, it's in the state and territories legislation. People are really not understanding, my opposition, they're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm talking here about consistency in legislation and legislative frameworks, okay? When you have a better legislation on a federal level that's covering the field, you definitely have to look at that and see what it does. But saying that as well, the states and the territories have their own laws as well. And what is actually happening is that they're contradicting their own provisions. So there are provisions within the states and territories. So, for example, Queensland has a specific detention section, section 349, I think, just from I've got so many sections in my head, but I think it's 349. And what it does is now it conflicts with another section, section 365A, where the chief health officer can do as they wish. They can do as they will. They can direct as they see fit, okay? But then you have all of these other requirements under the other section for detention orders. And it means that if you want to detain someone, you have to tick so many prerequisites. You have to establish serious public health risk. You have to show that they were there. You have to give them the information, prescribed contact information. You have to give them the order. You have to give them their review rights. Okay, so all of a sudden, no, we don't want to listen to section 349. We'll just ignore that and we can do as we wish, because now we brought in a new law that says do as you wish, okay? So everyone says, oh, the states and the territories, they can do what they want, because apparently we don't need process when it matters most. Apparently emergency processes shouldn't be used when there's an emergency. And so all of a sudden people are talking nonsense. And then they're talking at me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Serene, okay? And the thing is that, but I'm giving you the act. I've read the law. I'm giving you and breaking it down. I'm saying to you, look at this section, look at that section, look at what this says. And they don't even listen to what the section is saying. So they'll be like, oh, ignore it all. Just ignore it. The biosecurity, I throw it in the bin, we say. Put it in the rubbish bin. We don't want to even look at it. It's just absurd dialogue and absurd argument. So what I'm saying as well is that we've also got a comprehensive human rights legislative framework as well. And a lot of states have brought in comprehensive human rights, okay?
Yep.
What I see is a country that is really suffering from collective psychosis, okay? It's bureaucrats that are so nasty, so full of themselves, so out of control, so dominated by so many other agendas that are intersecting and dominating and taking away the heart, taking away the empathy, taking away logic Okay, so you have something right in front of your eyes, a piece of law, a constitution that protects you, and legislation that is meant to be applied in a particular way. And then you also have human rights frameworks and a body of common law and legislation and a body of case law that is measured. But you have institutions that are morally bankrupt. You have individuals now that have been infiltrating our systems of the judiciary. And I'm talking here certain judges. Of course, I have great respect for the High Court and for the Federal Court, with the exception of the Family Court of Australia. They need to be abolished immediately. And I will be also dealing with that
Love it.
very soon. Yeah, definitely. They need to be abolished. Those folks need to go. Okay. And I will say this as many times because I'm onto them. Okay. Um, you've got also bureaucrats that have just infiltrated key positions of authority. You have bureaucrats who've infiltrated the military. You've got bureaucrats that have infiltrated government, executive. You have bureaucrats that have infiltrated top positions in the ATO, in the ACCC, in all of in the Department of Health. Okay,
Yep.
who are completely blinded to logic
Well, they're
and
corrupt. They're being paid. They're complicit with the whoever they're supposed to be overseeing, or whoever they're supposed to be regulating. They're actually being paid by them. Elizabeth Hart, who I spoke with last week, has done a huge amount of work into conflicts of interest
yes.
between these people. So yeah, we have a totally corrupted system, and it's good to know that there are actually processes in place that are supposed to protect us, but it's horrendous to think that the governments and the bureaucrats like Jeanette Young-un in Queensland and Daniel Andrews in Victoria are completely ignoring the processes that are put in place. They are acting outside of legislation and outside of the law. I have a question for you, and
But
you may
also
not know
very
this.
important, Meryl, just to clarify that
Yes.
they're also introducing laws now that are outside of their powers.
Yep.
Okay, so what's happening is not just issuing directions under the laws and determinations under the laws. They're actually now being so brazen that they're introducing laws that are completely illogical and that are completely ruthless and are completely contradictory with the existing narrative of the legislation. So
Yes.
they're going a step further. You know, this has become so out of control. And what is more out of control is the lack of voices in our parliamentarians. You know, there's so much bullying that is happening, okay, and the infiltration of very key transnational companies that are unfortunately also headed and run by former bureaucrats and things like that. So there are so many interferences that are occurring, and committees that they establish to give advice that are often linked to private interests for profiteering and making personal gains. So you don't know where it ends and you don't know where it starts, and you don't know what agency anyone has anymore because it is so lost. Okay, truth becomes a lie and the lie becomes the truth, and it's very hard to navigate. But also very importantly too, I don't necessarily say the system is corrupted as much as the people operating it are corrupted.
Yep.
Because if you have a fair judge, he'll have the resources in his hand in this country to make the right decision. Okay, they are equipped with with the laws and with the with the history of the case law to make the right decisions. Okay, so there is, if you're a good judge, a fair judge, a judge with insight, a judge with heart, a judge with understanding, a forensic understanding of what it means to be an independent nation, what it means to truly protect your people, okay, then you will have a system that will serve your needs. Okay, but it's the people. It's become actually about, if we just remove the people and put in good people, our system will work.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, it's not corrupt at its core, it's the people who are running it.
Yes,
So you
exactly.
have a class action that is being prepared now. You've filed papers on it, haven't you?
No, I've just sent a letter now. Okay.
Okay.
What I've done is I've sent a letter to advising all the governments of my intentions, inviting them for a conversation. Okay, to look at discussing this. You know, I'm a resolution focused type of girl. Okay. I like resolution. I don't like conflict. Okay. That's how I work. I work from a window of strategy.
Yep.
Okay. When you have such a huge level of corruption, okay, I don't want to come in on a battlefield. If I have to battle, I will. Okay. If I have to battle, I will. Okay. But I'd like to negotiate first. I'd like to sort of say, hey, this, and I'm all for playing my cards. You know, people say, don't play your cards, don't play your strategy. This is old thinking. This is actually patriarchal thinking. You know, be fierce, you know, hold your strategy close. Don't let your enemy know what you're doing. No, man, I'll let my enemy know everything. Here you go. This is me because I have self belief, okay, that what I'm saying is the truth, okay? Truth is my ultimate, not weapon. I hate to even use those language. The
Tool,
language,
maybe.
it's a tool and it's a strategy, okay? Because I'm saying to you, truth is there. It's in your face. I'm saying, I'm showing you your contradictions. I'm looking at your paperwork and your dialogue. I'm like, hey guys, you're not doing the right thing here. And you're telling me you're not doing the right thing. Okay. And I'm upset because I'm letting you know here's all these people who are upset. Okay. But you see, they're arrogant. Okay. And that arrogance is they're gonna call me bluff, or we're not gonna respond to her. Let's see what she does. But if anyone knows anything about my history, I'm a dog with a bone. Okay. I'm not going to let go of this. Okay. I'm going to keep at it. Okay. And what drives me is not just people. What drives me is my personal conviction for the truth. Okay. It's, I don't want to live in a nation, you know, where, sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. You know, I don't want to live in a nation like this.
Yes, I understand. So,
I'm
Serene,
so tired,
no, no, no,
but yeah,
no, no, that's fine. That's fine. I think that everybody can see your passion and your commitment to justice. Justice is such an important goal to have, and it's something that we really need in
can
Australia.
I, can I say something on that,
Sure.
Meryl?
Yep,
You know, I'm actually asking, you know, myself, what is it that I'm trying to achieve?
yep,
Okay. You can't achieve justice because other people can't give that to you. Other people can't give you justice. And the judiciary doesn't give you justice. What we should be getting is love. We need to speak with love. We need to feel for each other.
right.
And we
And
need
too
to,
many people don't.
and I don't want to fight for justice. I want justice to be just there for everyone to access.
Yep,
I want to see pain because pain, you know, pain is suffering and suffering is learning. I understand that too. But we need to connect with the corrupt. We need to sort of say to them, hey guys, this is also not in your best interest.
yep,
Okay? We don't want to be on the battlefield anymore. You know, we want to rise beyond the battlefield.
yep.
And
Absolutely.
we want to be in the space of love and forgiveness. That is why my class action is not about money. It's not about compensation. It's about love. It's about our rights. It's about being human. It's about saying we need, as a people, to rise and unite with each other to say, if these laws are creating so much pain, then something is wrong. We just need to ask that question.
Yep,
Are these laws causing pain? Are our bureaucrats causing pain? And if the answer to that, yes, there's pain, then we're doing it wrong.
yep.
Okay. Then we have to seek to do it right. That is why in my letter, it was an invitation to talk. It was a olive branch to speak. And I will continue to do this. However, I will go on the battlefield. And even if I am on the battlefield, I will still approach my enemies with love. I will still approach my enemies with grace. I will still tell them that this is all for our best interest.
Yep.
If you hurt someone else, you're hurting yourself. Okay? If you create pain to another, you are creating pain to yourself.
Yep.
Because whether we like it or not, we're all connected.
Yep. No man is an island.
connected. We're all connected. Even we're connected with the bad guys.
Yeah.
We're connected with the stubborn. We're connected with those who mock us. We're connected.
Yeah.
We're connected with each other. And so we need we need to not see this, because what I see in front of me is a lot of sadness waiting to happen. What I see in front of me is a lot of conflict waiting to brew. What I see in front of me could be bloodshed and other things that I don't want to happen.
No, none of us do.
I want the police officers to throw their handcuffs to the ground. I want the military officials to throw their guns to the ground. I want them to listen to the person in front of them. I want our politicians to wake up. If you have your millions, well, you need to share it too.
Yeah.
You know,
And it is
that's what I
starting
want.
to happen. One Nation is coming out against this. Even the Australian Medical Association is coming out and saying we can't have compulsory COVID vaccines. So,
Good. I was so pleased with to hear that.
yes, yes.
Surprised.
Me too, me too. And I think they realize that the sentiment in the community is so overwhelmingly in opposition to making this compulsory that even these people who are tone deaf, who don't normally listen to the community, are starting to hear it. Serene, you are taking on a battle of David and Goliath. You what help do you need? What can you tell the people who are watching this now? What do you need to make this as successful as you possibly can?
I need people's patience. Okay. Yes,
Okay.
I do. Patience is extremely beautiful thing. Okay. And patience, when you are victimized, you feel like you want a response now. We're not trained to sit with the pain a little bit, and we're not trained to sit with the discomfort. Okay. Because we want our result and our outcome now. Okay. And so what I'm sensing is people think I am a superhero. Okay. I'm not a superhero. I'm just a person like everyone else. I'm feeding off the energy of the collective. I am one of the people in this, okay, like everyone, and I am patient and I'm learning to be focused. I'm learning to be forgiving. I'm learning to listen more. I'm learning to understand that there's a lot of trauma that's been caused and that we need to sometimes be patient with each other. So people will tell me, now, why are you doing it now? You said this. Okay, but the thing is all of these other things have happened now that I need to rethink my plan, and I need to strategize, and I need to be smart, and I need to look at all the new laws, and I need to speak to the barristers and see who is going to come on board. I need to get the experts, and I need to communicate with the clients. And I've been very blessed that I've had a lot of offers of help, and I've also need to delegate. So delegation is another thing I'm learning. Okay. So
It's not
please
easy.
be patient. And why haven't you started it right this second? Put an injunction in the court immediately. Well, I need the people. I need to organize everyone. I need to read all the stories. I need to understand how I'm going to argue it so we can get an outcome. Be patient. We need to be patient. We need to be forgiving with each other. We need to, if we want something to happen now, we need to then offer our support to make it happen now.
Yes.
You know
So, do
what
you
I mean?
need more lawyers to come forward to help
I
you?
would love to get as many lawyers as possible, okay, who are truly here not to criticize me, okay, but to actually help. I'm very open to constructive feedback, which is very different to criticism. Constructive feedback makes me smarter, makes me wiser, okay, and makes me sharper, okay. And those are things I actually value tremendously as a lawyer, is to be a much more sharper person. Okay, there's a lot of people who think they know me. Oh, Serene, she's got an axe to grind from her ATO days. And it's like my ATO days, I loved working for the ATO, and I have so much respect for thousands of my colleagues in the ATO. It's not me against the ATO, it was me against certain individuals, okay, that I wanted them to change, to be better, to improve. And what I succeeded to do in the ATO, situation is bring about some positive change, which I'm very proud of. And now the people in the ATO, they're working with me. Okay, they have respect for me. Okay, because I want my enemies to become my friends. Okay,
That's
I
good.
want people to be, I want, that's my goal. When I deal with people, I want them to become my friends. I don't want to make enemies. This is not my goal. Okay, my goal is that we all hold hands and we kiss and hug. That's my goal.
And you want to be able to do that now and get rid of the social distancing. Hug the people that you meet on the street if they're not healthy.
You
For
know?
those people who don't know, Serene actually became a whistleblower in the days that she was working at the ATO, and she was successful in bringing some information to the public and in changing things in a positive way.
And I settled it, and confidentiality agreement. But but what is before it, I could tell. But as I said, I worked with the individuals. We settled our matter, and really, what I want to achieve through launching this court action is settlement for the people.
Yes,
I want
absolutely.
settling it. I want us to when we settle, we go on with our lives in a harmonious way,
Yep,
because what I say is what I want for me, I want for my brother and sister.
yep,
What I desire in all the choices that we have is I don't want to have all the fun things like a iPhone and my computer and music and have fun if no one else is going to have fun with me. You know what I mean? So I want to create that space, okay? And what I'm doing with this class action is saying we're all meeting, we're all having the pain. I want you to sit with the pain for a little bit until I figure out all of my strategy and
yep.
refine it and be ready to launch it in a form that I believe will get us an outcome. So just I'm asking for people's patience.
And while you're asking for patience, I am not at liberty to tell too much, but I do know of several cases where there was an urgent need for you to help. And in every
Yeah.
single one of those cases, you dropped everything and you helped. And
Oh,
people were saved because of it. So if any lawyers are listening to this right now, if anyone, a paralegal who can, raise their hand and say, I have some time to give to Serene, I'd like to be involved, please, please contact her and let her know. What about money? Do you need money?
no, look, I've learned a few things with that as well. There's been so many learnings for me. It's obviously you live and learn. I am very strict now. I'm telling everybody, do not raise money for me. Okay? This is not what I want here. Okay? This is not about, I put it on my page. We are not requesting donations. We actually want clients. Okay? We want people to come and join our class action. Okay? But of course, there are some people who insist and they want to help by giving a donation. So we strictly have a donation account that is 100% transparent. That means we also ask people to email us. Okay? So it's transparent. Okay?
Yep,
I don't want people to think, oh, we're getting this donation. I haven't touched a penny from any of those payments at all. Okay. The other problem I have too is there's money that gets raised, and I've told everybody else, all other organizations, do not raise any money for me or for this cause. Okay. I've shut all that down now. Okay, so that's all been shut down, and I say it very clearly to everyone, no one is allowed to use my name to raise money. Okay,
yep,
or no. Okay, I'm saying no to that.
yep,
Okay, because that's not what I want. Okay, what I want, okay, is for clients to join, for people who are impacted to join. It's people go, oh, you should make it for free, it's litigation funder, why don't you have a litigation funder? Well, let me explain something here very important so people can understand legal process. Oh, you can't have a class action without a litigation funder. That's rubbish. You can have a class action. The criteria for a class action is 7 or more people impacted by the same situation. Okay, where then you have a lead applicant that puts their circumstances down as the main person. Okay, and then the other ones are in behind the scenes. Okay, impacted and obviously waiting for a decision to be made. Now, most class actions usually are for big money. Okay, so someone's been, a medicine comes out from a vaccine that injures a whole lot of people, then they want to do a class action in relation to getting big compensation from the pharmaceutical companies. So what some litigation funders do, what some entrepreneurs do, it's like putting a bet on it. Okay, they'll go and say, all right, we'll fund this. Okay, so people don't pay. Okay, of course they're not going to pay if you're going to have a litigation funder. But guess what? If we get compensation for you, we're going to eat a whole lot of your money that you're entitled to. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, with litigation funders. Now, our class action is not about money; it's about our rights. So clearly, no litigation funder is ever going to fund this thing.
No.
What money? They're putting bets on it. Okay, so no litigation funder is going to do it. Now, there is nothing to prevent class actions from being self-funded, meaning from the clients themselves that are impacted. Okay. However, I recognize that there are many different needs in the community, and that is why I structured it in a way that even for self-funding, okay, I put it a minimum of $250, okay, to 2,000 for as many members of the family that are impacted. So you might have 5 people in a family that are impacted by the same thing, or their business is being shut down. There's 10 people in that, business. It's they can put it together collectively,
Yeah.
okay, as one amount, and I put a maximum of 2,000. So you could put, we're 10 people impacted by this particular situation. So make it as easy as possible, as cheap as possible, and as affordable as possible. People go, why don't you do it for free? Oh, great. That's a great strategy for me.
Why
Okay,
don't you
so
work for free?
free. Well, I'm not saying I'm gonna. Why did I do it for free? Because there's going to be costs involved.
Of
I
course
need to
there
hire
are.
administrators. I need to do, and all the people right now are all volunteers. Okay, so I haven't paid them a cent, and I'm looking at obviously from anything that gets given to also organize and pay people appropriately. But this is going to happen in due course. Okay, and I've got all my checks and balances there. Now people say, well, we can't afford it. Can we be part of it? Fill in the form. I say you can fill in the form, even if you can't pay for it. Fill in the form so I know that you're interested.
Yeah.
Okay, explain that you can't even afford $1. Okay, and that I understand, because what we've had is some other people who are willing to pledge to cover some other people. Okay, now also people say, oh, if you get 50,000, you're gonna get so much money. The reality is this: people are scared. Okay, even though I've had thousands and thousands of people express how angry and upset they are with what's happening, the truth, Meryl, is this, and it's a sad, sad truth. People do not want to stand up for their rights. Okay, so the bottom line is there's a lot of people that might not join. They want to join, but they might not join. And I'm okay with that. Okay, because it's about love and forgiveness. Okay, I would love them to join because, we need the numbers. And if we get the numbers, we're set financially so we can go really hardcore with this.
Right, right.
Have no restrictions. I will be like ready to just go on every basis in every space. I could use this as a real benchmark, okay, to truly challenge every individual, every corrupt individual in our government, every corrupt chief health officer, every corrupt bureaucrat that thinks that they can make decisions that hurt others. Okay, so most certainly, okay, I would be emboldened by that, but my realism is always there in the back.
Yes.
I have to act with a realistic mind, but with a very open heart. Okay, so I
Absolutely.
set in my heart with my mind, and that is why I say, yes, I need that. Now, we might not get 10,000 even. We might not. We might get far less. We might get 5,000 people.
And that's
Okay,
still pretty good, isn't it?
I will go ahead, irrespective of
Yep.
the number of people.
Yep.
To me, is join us because it's for your benefit. It's don't join it, don't do it for anything else except that you see it as the benefit for yourself and the benefit for the collective.
And they join you on your website, advocateme.com. Is it .com or .com.au?
So it's www.advocateme.com. advocateme, ADVOCATE, me.com.au. And
Okay.
all the information is there. Our strategy is there. You know, we've gone into great lengths. I understand sometimes people don't understand everything, okay? And I take that on board and I appreciate it. I put it in the layman's terms as much as possible. You can never simplify it. Like you can keep simplifying and simplifying until the cows come home, okay? But you know, there's also a certain level of trust
Yep.
that people need to have as well. Okay, so it's patience
Absolutely.
and trust. Okay, and I'm not coming from a door. I'm not coming here to do anything. I haven't even paid myself a cent. Everything's in the trust account. Anyone can go see it. All my colleagues know about that. You know what I mean? And they know what kind of person I am because I do so many things for free. And you just have to listen to all the people who support me on that, okay, to know what kind of goodwill I've created in my own business and I've created in the community. You
Yep.
know, that's for itself.
Which is great. Now, are you happy to take some questions from the people
Yes,
watching?
yes,
That's great.
cool.
Um, Let me just see. There was someone who asked, well, actually, I have a couple of questions that were asked before. Can the government detain anyone, i.e., children, at a medical facility? That's a big concern to a lot of people.
Huge concern, and I will be very honest with you. What is coming out in terms of the proposed legislation, particularly in South Australia, they've been brazened enough, okay, and in your face, okay, and they've put it out there, and I find that horrifying. Removing children in quarantine facilities. I mean, we have a huge pedophilia problem in this country. You're telling me that you want to remove a child without their parent being present with them? There is no excuse under the sun to remove a child from their guardian.
So, if
No.
the government passes legislation saying, giving themselves the right to do that, is there any way of challenging that?
Well, that is one of our challenge too. So we're doing, if you go on the website, this is covered on our website. We're doing a judicial review in terms of the directives and the decisions that have been made under the laws, okay, as administrative decisions. So a challenge to the administrative decisions made under law. They're not law themselves per se, but they are administrative decisions made under the law. So they're the directives. But now the brazened introduction of laws into the Public Health and Emergency Act, such as removal of children, such as dropping your underwear, such as it's disgusting. It's perverse. I'm sorry, there's no other word for it except it's dirty and it's perverse.
Yep.
And now Daniel Andrews, apparently serious public health risk is constituted by 0 COVID cases. Right, Daniel Andrews. Wow. Okay, which smart scientist told you that one? Okay. Yes, serious public health risk is constituted when there is no risk at all.
And even the definition of cases used to be symptomatic people. Calling
Exactly.
someone who is asymptomatic a case is unscientific, completely
Totally.
unscientific.
It's absolutely also completely not in line with what we have in terms of the studies that have shown that it's 0% to 2.2% if at the best rate of approximation. That minuscule risk does not justify
No,
detainment on that level. It is just an absurdity, to
it
say the least.
is. It's
And it doesn't
crazy.
change the fact that most of the killers in our society is cancer and cardiovascular disease. Why doesn't the government close down every takeaway shop? Go on. You want to public, it's the same
It
philosophy.
doesn't
You
care
want
about
to,
health. There's
yeah, but
no
it's the
money
same
in health.
philosophy. You want to shut down people for a 2.2, a maximum 2.2% risk. Well, why don't you go and shut down every takeaway shop, subsidize every healthy meal for every individual so that you can eliminate cardiovascular disease and cancer?
That's right.
Okay,
And most cases of
ridiculous.
influenza, too.
In most cases, exactly.
That's right. Okay, there's another question here, and along the same lines. Your answer may be similar. Can the government use force to administer a vaccine?
Yeah, so this is again a very important point and one we will be challenging as well. And this is where the inconsistency comes through, okay, in legislation. So you have the Biosecurity Act, and it's extremely clear in terms of protecting you from the use of force. There's absolutely no use of force that is permitted in the federal legislature. You know, to me, that's a superior legislation because obviously preserving your rights, okay? And it's also saying that if you do want people to be vaccinated, they still need to provide their informed informed consent and be properly informed and have the right of review. Okay, what we're seeing in Western Australian legislation, and in some of the others, but the worst that I've seen in terms of use of force is the Western Australian legislation. It's like everyone, yeah, just take the police force, bring them in, use force. And we will be challenging those aspects because there's deep contradictions between and inconsistencies between the legislature itself and the law. So you have human rights that says you can't use force. So Human Rights Act saying you can't use force, and then the Public Health Act is saying, oh yeah, bring in the police and take down their underwear.
And
Yeah.
when there is a conflict between two pieces of law like that, which one will take precedence? How can
Yes.
you decide that?
Well, there's a number of things that would be considered in terms of preference. Well, obviously, in terms of as well the preservation of people's rights. You know, if two pieces of law is one is showing a better condition for someone, well, clearly that's pretty obvious which one's going to take precedence.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's considered.
That's considered, and also as well, when you're talking about a federal legislator and a state and a commonwealth under the Constitution, an inconsistency that is so blatant. We're talking here about really blatant inconsistencies, okay? And where the federal legislator is saying don't use force, and Western Australia is going take down their underwear, I think it's pretty obvious which one's going to win.
Yep.
And the thing is this, it is so condescending. The Western Australian legislation, it is appalling and just sheerly disgusting. They say, oh, you can take down the underwear, but with decency.
With decency. How does that
But
happen?
apparently, someone can take down your underwear with decently. This is actually, it's called a perverted mind. Only a perverted mind can come up with something like that, okay? That's what grooming does, okay? I'm going to molest you, but kindly.
Yeah.
I'm going to take your pants down decently. Yes, I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. And I think that we have those rights to say no to those things. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to look through some of these questions. Everybody is sending you so much love.
Oh,
What an
thank you.
inspiration this young woman is. We
Oh,
support you, Serene. Adam Rose said you will not be on the battlefield alone, and that's true. We
oh,
are all
thank
with
you.
you. Kate
Absolutely.
said we are all behind you, Serene. So don't feel that you're alone.
Not
Uh,
alone. I know that I'm very heartened by all of the beautiful people behind me
we have,
and in front of me and beside me.
okay. Here we go. This is from Nolene. Can Serene please address the Commonwealth announcement that they delegated their powers to the states during the disaster, if I understand it correctly? Is that the case?
Yeah, look, that's I don't think that there was any clear announcement on that, okay, in terms of a delegation that occurred in terms of their powers to the states. We are actually stating that the Biosecurity Act covers the field, okay? So whether or not the Commonwealth wants to rise to that challenge or not, okay, is neither here or there for us. What we're saying is that they haven't risen to that. Okay, and I've put that in the judicial review that we're considering, actually stating that the Biosecurity Act and the Constitution vests quarantine powers in the delegation of the Commonwealth. Okay, now they say they've delegated it, but in fact, a lot of the committees that are making decisions during this national health crisis is actually the Commonwealth.
Right.
Okay, so the Department of Health has set up a number of committees. Okay, and the AHPPC committee, which is composed, by the way, of the chief health officers as well of each state and territory, but they are under the auspices of the Department of Health. Okay, so whilst the Commonwealth can say, oh, we've delegated those powers to the states and territories. In fact, what the states and territories are saying is that we're following the directions of the Commonwealth. Okay,
Passing the
so
buck.
exactly. So everyone's passing the buck to each other. So hold on, let's look at the facts. We've got an intergovernmental agreement that puts the Commonwealth in the lead financial decision, and it's giving key finances and backing to the states and territories. So that will bring about some responsibilities. Then you've got the Commonwealth. Also, they have a plan, the plan that they put in together for the management of the coronavirus, and it clearly states that the states and territories must complement the legislation of the Biosecurity Act. They say it in their own plan. I'm not making it up. They've said it. Okay. Then, furthermore, they've got all of these committees that are actually working on the Department of Health and on the Commonwealth level, and they're making key decisions in relation to how this virus is being dealt with, and they're passing these decisions so that the states and territories do their thing. Now, I'm not here saying states and territories don't have powers. Without a doubt, they have powers. Okay, they have what is called plenary powers, and I absolutely agree with that. My argument isn't that. My argument is this, that when you do have a national health crisis, okay, and it is about a national health risk, the Commonwealth has to rise to ensure that the powers it has to legislate for these things and to create consistency on that level, okay, there has to be an awareness that the states and territories must act in conjunction with, okay, and in complementary of the federal laws,
Right.
okay. They might not necessarily have to follow them verbatim, but they can't be acting inconsistently with them.
Right.
Okay? And so, and I go a step further and I also say that the Biosecurity Act itself creates some preference in itself, okay, for the purposes of emergency requirements set by the health minister and directions. And it creates a very clean and clear process about the limits of where that starts and where that ends. And we say that at least the states and territories must act consistently, because if they don't, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. You're going to have a mess all around because the states and territories are all, oh, we can do what we want here. Oh, we'll close the border here. We won't let that person here. We'll make up our own laws here. This is an outrage,
And
okay?
that's what we're seeing.
That's what we're seeing. You end up having inconsistencies all round, and that is not the intention of what the Biosecurity Act says. And this is, again, we have the system versus the people operating the system. So the people operating the system are not operating it correctly. What we're saying is that the government and the Commonwealth should rise to take their responsibility, okay, and not sit there and delegate uh, things that are in their responsibility. Okay, and I
Yeah.
say, and the argument is that the Biosecurity Act and the EM, the explanatory memorandum, and this is also in a report that was produced in Victorian Parliament, actually raised this question. The Biosecurity Act is widening its scope. Okay, it's kind of giving itself a much more wider range, or covering the field as they call it. Okay, and it is, okay, because it's actually covering a whole lot of these quarantine powers, okay, or quarantine like powers. And we all know in the Constitution that has been handed over to the Commonwealth. So they can't play that card when it suits them and when it's not. Okay,
Right.
they're making decisions in committees that are on the higher level. They have the financial backing of the states and territories. They have plans that say they must complement each other. And then all of a sudden, actually, go do what you want. Go rogue, do what you want.
So when the states have made either, regulations or laws that are in conflict with the Biosecurity Act, the Biosecurity Act is the final word. They
Well,
have to abide
okay.
by that.
Well, we say that will be what we'll be putting towards the judiciary. We will be
Right.
saying we have case law and we have the Constitution and we have our logic and we have the fact that this is a national health risk. It makes sense that things get organized properly. All I'm saying is let's get organized, okay? Let's be consistent, let's be proportionate,
Yeah.
and let's be consistent across all the states and the territories. So we can't have South Australia making laws to take children away. We can't have Western Australia saying you can use force and take underwear down. You can't then have Victoria going, oh, we think serious public health risk means this and this and this. You're going to have, they've lost the plot.
They have.
And this is where it's very important to take control. Okay, and that's what we're saying. Our argument is let's take control. Okay, let's use the laws to take control of the situation. So we ensure, firstly, proportionality, secondly, consistency.
Now you've sent that letter into, who did that letter go to? The one that's
It,
on your website.
it went to all of the premiers and the prime minister and cabinet. Okay,
Okay.
I wanted it to go to them first
Have
as
you
it is.
had a response from anyone?
Initially, I had a few responses, but obviously they've all consolidated and gone, hey, don't respond. Everybody, don't respond. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Right. So no real response to you.
I
So
had actually, indications that I was going to get responses from different states, Tasmania and Northern Territory. God bless them. Okay, you know, uh, um, they were like, yes, we're going to respond to you. We're taking it seriously. And I'm like, oh, that's really fantastic. Okay, but of course, no peep out of Victoria, no
no.
peep out of the Commonwealth and Queensland and New South Wales and South Australia and Western Australia. So interesting, okay, because to me, I wasn't expecting a response, okay. What the game they play is we're calling you bluff,
Right.
okay. We're saying you're saying this to us. We're not even going to give you a bench of platform. But ironically, Scott Morrison comes out and starts talking about sovereignty, okay, the other day, and
Did
about
he?
how he disagrees with border closures and this and that. And then by the evening, he's changed his whole tone, okay. His tune changed completely. Before it was like, yes, we're going to ensure that there's no deals with the Chinese, and all of a sudden by the evening, the China is all good.
Such a
China's
hypocrite.
all good again.
He flip flops more than a fish out of water. It's just
He flip-flops
amazing.
less than 12 hours. I mean, dude, what are you saying? Okay. And the problem is probably his handlers and whoever is advising him reined him in. Hey, mate, you really can't say that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't use the word disproportionality. Don't use the word sovereignty. Cut that out of your speech right away. Because you can see these people are not acting in the best interest of their people, okay,
Right.
their
Right.
constituents, and they're not making independent decisions. Meaning, whilst they might personally, like he personally, I could see right away from Scott Morrison, he doesn't agree with what is going on in Victoria. I can see that. Everyone can see he doesn't agree with it, okay? Why aren't you not rising to your place and deal with it, Scott
Well,
Morrison?
there's another situation. You've probably heard about it in New South Wales, not far from where I live. There was a woman who was pregnant with twins, and she was in an emergency
Yes.
situation. She needed to get to the hospital quickly. Queensland would not allow her in, so she had to fly down to Sydney, and the extra time that she spent traveling meant that one of the twins died.
It is
And
just
Scott
horrifying.
Morrison came out against this. But why isn't Scott Morrison, like you said, doing something to force the border to open? No
Yeah, because his
cases in
handlers, he's
Queensland.
got his handlers. I know I hate to say it, but he's got his handlers. He's got people who, he'll come out and say how uncomfortable he is with the Belt and Road Initiative, how upset he is about different things. He'll come out and talk about independence and sovereignty. He'll come out and, make a lot of comments in relation to that. But then he'll come out and sign a deal with AstraZeneca. Mate, if you're into independence and sovereignty, signing a deal with the UK company ain't sovereign, mate. Okay, um, news flash. Sorry to disappoint you there, Mister, but you're looking like a hypocrite.
Yep,
Okay, and
absolutely.
and you're coming across like you're not the captain of the ship. Okay, and I understand it's not about being captain. It's a constitutional, it's a parliamentary, consultative federation. I understand that. When I talk in terms of sovereignty, I'm not saying each state and territory and federal government are sovereignty. The whole nation is a federation, but I'm talking collective sovereignty as an entire nation. Okay, that's when I talk about sovereignty. But the way that we deal with each other is not based on sovereignty. It is actually based on a federation and a dialogue and an interchange, okay, of responsibilities and a consultative, okay, a scope. And that's what I'm not seeing with our governments, all these different layers of government. Where is the consultation? Where is where is even, even when the federation, I mean, even when the Commonwealth has the ability to take charge, they're washing their hands of things and not doing that. Well, your country is going to be run off and sold off to all sorts of transnational, international interests, whether they're countries like China or transnational companies like AstraZeneca and Moderna and billionaires that all have vested interests in this
Yep.
nation. Who are having side deals with this person and a former bureaucrats that goes and gets deals with that person. That is not a way of dealing with this nation.
No,
Okay. That is not a federation. That is not consultative.
And
Okay.
Australian
And
subjects are left without a voice. They are completely unrepresented in federal and state parliament on issues that affect them personally. And that is something that is also fairly recent in Australia because we used to have a voice. I've been here long enough to remember when we had a voice, and we
yes,
no longer have one in the halls of power. We are
we do not
completely
have
voiceless. No.
America. We do not have a voice, unfortunately, because we've muted ourselves. Okay, but that's a choice every single citizen has done. Okay, is the exercise of muting yourself. Okay, we need to unmute ourselves. Okay, and the way we do it, we must engage. Okay, we engage. So this class action is a meeting point. The way I see it is a meeting point. Let's reset this in a restorative, healing manner. Okay, let's not give them ammunition against us. Okay, let us truly rise to consolidate our issues, to consolidate our pain, and present it in a very strong and a very well argued statement of claim, one that covers all the issues. What I'm saying is actually logical, to be honest. It's really sensible. It's not. It doesn't take a genius to see what I'm saying. It's a sensibility. I'm not saying, oh, shut the states and territories. Only the Commonwealth has power. No, 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 no. I'm saying there's a whole body of interactions here, that must play out so that we don't lose, so that states and territories don't go rogue. Okay, so that we're not making decisions that are nonsensical, so that we don't have different laws with different things that are inconsistent and contradictory. How bad is what I'm saying?
It's very logical, which is why most politicians can't understand it, because logic is not actually something that you're taught, and it's not something that is considered a benefit if you are, in parliament, whether it's state or federal. Serene, you are an inspiration,
Oh,
an
thank you.
absolute inspiration, and I know that everybody who's watching this is just sending you so much love. And I know that there are questions that we didn't get to, but I promised you we were only going to be on for an hour because I know how busy you are. And we've
But
been on for an
sheep are
hour and
so
20.
serious, aren't they?
Well, there's so much to discuss. People who are watching this, if you can, stay on after I say goodbye to Serene because I have a few things that I wanted to talk to you about as well. But Serene, is there anything that you want to say in closing? Any message that you want to leave with the people who are watching this here?
Um, I just want to say that your support has been so invaluable. There are so many people who will try to attack me and who will try to be so condescending and nasty, and that's fine as well. I accept that that's part of the challenge. But I want to reassure people that I'm very serious about advancing this to its eventuality. I'm not doing this just for the people. I'm also doing this for myself, okay, in terms of what I see as a nation that I want to live in. And I really urge people to really consider joining. The more stories I have, the more understanding I have of what's going on. And as I said, if people can't even afford the 250, I just urge them to fill in the form. They don't need to complete the cost agreement. Just fill in the form so that we have that detail so that we can come back to you later on when I look at all my numbers and I do all of my stock take. Then I've got all of the stories, and then that could help me to see how best to move this forward.
And some people did make comments. I didn't catch them because I've been trying to watch them as we've been speaking,
Yes,
saying that they would be happy to sponsor people who couldn't afford to pay that
that's
$250. So,
That's beautiful. And they can probably just send an email to that effect,
yeah.
if that's the effect. And I could take stock of that at the end. And as I said, I am ambitious. I want the best outcome with my heart, but I'm also realistic with my mind.
Yeah.
So when people, are asking me questions, why are you charging that and this and that? Well, I just want to make sure that we're going to be safe and I'm able to actually carry this and pay the experts that I want to get internationally and make this a wonderful, strong class action with experts and proper barristers and very well organized and extremely meticulous in terms of how I express all of the legal arguments. I want to make it very sharp.
And I
Okay.
can assure
FYI.
everyone who is watching this that between $250 and $2,000 for this sort of legal support is rock bottom, because most lawyers will charge $250 an hour.
Yeah, but
So,
also it's families as well. So this amount is for families. And as I said, we might raise a lot more than what we asked for.
yep,
Okay. But that for me is an opportunity then to not feel stressed by that point.
yep,
Okay. And that for me
absolutely.
boldens me to go, well, they go and pay whoever they want to get whatever they want. Well, I want to be in the same situation. I want to
Yep.
be able to compete on that level, okay, where I can go, well, I can get that expert and I can fly that person in, and I can get the interpreter for that Italian expert that I want to get, and I can get the interpreter for that, and I don't have to rack my brain on where I'm going to find the funds, okay, because I've got that all in front of me, and I want to consolidate all the experts globally who are truly standing up for this, because this case is about every single lie and every single deception that I plan to deconstruct right from its core. From, as I said, the psychometric data to the flawed data that they're gathering into the
Yep.
hospital, flawed diagnoses issues, the RT-PCR tests. I want to get the microbiologists. I want to get the statisticians. I want to get all of these people and say, well, you say this. Well, look at what this expert
And I can assure you that the eyes of the entire world are currently on Australia, because there is no country, no developed country that calls itself a democracy that has taken this sort of power for itself against
says.
its own people. So I support you myself personally 190%, and I know that everybody who's watching this does too. And yes, Gina, this will be on our YouTube channel and as well as BitChute. Gina is asking, can we share this when it's no longer live? It'll be
Yes,
here.
absolutely.
Yep, it'll be on Facebook until Facebook takes it down. It'll be on YouTube until YouTube takes it down, and it will be on BitChute permanently.
Thank
So,
you so
yes,
much.
it
Oh my
will.
gosh.
Oh,
I think this
Serene.
interview has been very informative for people.
I hope so. I
I've
think
been,
so.
I've been really wanting to, because I've been listening to what's going on, and there's all the naysayers. Oh, what does she think doing a class action like this? No litigation funders, it's usually for free, and it's like they don't know,
No,
they're
they're
not really learned.
completely out of touch with
They,
reality.
they haven't fully understood, what we're trying to do. And then, oh, who goes for a claim that doesn't have money? Yeah, people with heart.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
you've
you
got
get
heart
that,
and
you're
to
right.
spare. Serene, thank you so much. People, please stay with me, because I do have a couple of things I want to talk with you, but I want to thank you, and everybody else is thanking you too, Serene.
Oh,
I
thank you so
really appreciate so much you taking the time to do this when I know you have no time for anything.
Thank you
So,
so much. It's important for me to make the time to speak for people to understand.
and I
Okay, it's
think you,
about a platform, and you're such an angel, Meryl.
oh,
You are truly such a beautiful, pleasant, giving
oh.
person. And it's the conversation has flowed so beautifully. So thank you so much for providing me a wonderful platform.
No worries. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Mwah. Bye
Gorgeous.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, stay with me. I'm just going to go back to this main screen. Now, there's a few things. Thank you so much for everyone who's staying here. I really appreciate it. I will not take up very long. I want to share this one screen. This is something that was just shared with me. Now, those of you who have seen, there are huge rallies all around the world against the lockdown, against removal of freedom, against all of this stuff. This has just been shared from Berlin. I cannot guarantee the truth of it, but it is from Berlin, which had 1 million people rallying about a week and a half ago. The demonstration that they're currently in is expecting about 5 million protesters. The purpose is to stay until the government resigns. So they want to take their entire government down. We have food and drink for 5 days, and I'm sure people are going to be supporting that. An airline company who does not yet want to go public will bring protesters from many parts of the world. I know that Robert Kennedy is going to be there. He's flying in. If the government if the government falls, they return the money to the passengers. So they are so committed to this, whoever this airline is, that if this rally is successful in bringing down the German government, then the money that they paid to get there is going to be refunded. Several bus companies do the same. 1,200 buses bringing protesters from many cities in Europe. They will not return until the government falls. A general of the German military is going to resign on stage. Ships and boats are going to block the river Spree. I hope I'm saying that right. Even helicopters will demonstrate in the air. The police are on our side. Pardon me. They will not intervene for masks or distance. We want to paralyze all of Britain. Camps are to be set up all over Berlin. Soon this madness will end. Adam, absolutely. Ich bin ein Berliner. That's what John Kennedy said when he went to Berlin to see the wall. And that we are all Berliners right now. And that is what I want to say. Serene was talking about human nature, and in specifically Australian human nature. Right now, we are at a turning point. I've been saying this for a while. The government is grabbing as much power over our lives, over our children, over everything that we do, we say, we speak, we eat, everything. The government is trying to control every aspect of our lives, and we are allowing them to do that. I think if you went back to Germany in the 1930s and told the people in Germany, if you don't speak up, this is exactly what's going to happen, they would have spoken up. But they didn't know. We have the lesson of history to inform us. And we have got to speak up now. I have to tell you, I spoke with Serene before we went live on air, and I told her about the rallies. She's very aware of these rallies, and she's concerned that the government is going to use them as an excuse to arrest people. And they will, if we don't get enough people there. And that is why, 2 weeks ago there was a rally in Brisbane, and I was looking at people who were saying, oh, I'd love to be with you, but my child has a sports day. I would love to be there, but my son's birthday party is on today. I'm sorry. That is not an excuse. And I'm over. I am done with being politically correct, with being, understanding of other people who are using excuses not to stand up for their families, for their children, for their society, for their country. I am over it. I am done. You get out. You all get out. You bring people with you. I am driving all the way to Sydney to be at the rally down there. If you live within 3 hours of Brisbane, if you live within 3 hours of Melbourne, if you live within 3 hours of any of the cities where these rallies are going to be, you get there. There is no excuse. We need tens of thousands of people. They're saying 500,000 in each state. I don't care about 500,000. I want 10,000 in each capital city. And I know that we can do that. Penny, I am over being nice. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be nice anymore. I feel the urgency of what is happening to us now. I talk to people. I spoke with someone a couple of nights ago who has cancer, colon cancer. And this person was booked into a hospital on the Gold Coast. She lives in northern New South Wales. We're about an hour from the hospital. And she cannot go and get the surgery in the Gold Coast that she needs to operate on her cancer, which is growing, because the hospital is over the border and there is no other hospital near here that can do it. She can go to Sydney, but then what does she do for her convalescence? What does she do for her follow-up care? It is beyond incredible that people are being so compliant that they are rolling over for a government that is openly saying, I am going to control you, and if it kills you, that's fine. I'm good with that. I'm not good with that. I am absolutely not good with that. And I am over people saying that they are. I am I'm 62 years old. I have fought for 30 years for this kind of freedom, and I am not going to stop now. So I I have linked, someone's asking where is Sydney going to be, and that's the other thing I want to talk about. I have linked to a page on Facebook that has the official locations for the sites. The one that's in Perth, I believe, is incorrect. And I have, sorry, I'm just going to open up my emails here. The one in Perth is 12:30 p.m. I believe. No, I think it's 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The person who sent it to me has a typo here. 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Coode Street Jetty, South Perth. Now, if 100 people turn up, they're going to get arrested. If 500 people turn up, they're not going to get arrested, but they might be cited. If 5,000 people turn up, nothing is going to happen. We need numbers. We need everyone listening to this now to come along. And the other thing I was going to say is go to that link at the top of this broadcast and copy all of the information about the site that you're going to, because that page is probably not going to be up for too much longer. There's one last thing I want to share with you, and this was Serene's concern. She was concerned that people from the government, plainclothes policemen, whatever, are going to go into the crowds that are at these events and try and cause problems. Do not allow yourself to be drawn into violence. We are a peaceful movement. We believe, like Gandhi did, in positive change through peaceful action. We know our rights. We know that we have the right in Australia for political speech, political action, and no government, no dictator Dan, no Jeanette Young-un, no Anastasia. None of these people have the right to tell us that we can't do this. And if we stand together, we will be successful. Now, there are several pages that have been set up by trolls. They are giving people the wrong information about where to go. They are telling them the wrong time, and they are also trying to scare people. Do not even look at these. Do not share them. Do not go there. Do not comment on them. The only official place to go is the place that I've linked above. Feel free to copy down that information and share it with everyone. If you are going, and you'd better be going, if you are going, you need to bring people with you. You need to bring 2 or 3 or 4 or have, get a van, rent a van, take 10 people with you. We need to show up. We need to be strong and we need to be united, because it is the only way that we're going to prevail. And if you do not go, and if there is not a good turnout on that day, then the people who do go are going to be hung out to dry. We need to go together now. We need to be there in numbers. Please, I am begging you. You need to take this action. Yes, history shows that nonviolent protest is the most successful, and it's true. It overturned the British Empire in India. It has done so many good things. The civil rights movement under Martin Luther King in the United States, how much good did that do? We need to be like these people. We need to channel our inner Gandhi, our inner Martin Luther King. That's it. Christina said, are you going to look back on 2020 and saying, I did everything I could, or I should have done more? Are you going to look your children in the eye a year from now when they have no rights, when they're being forced to be vaccinated, when they are being forced to be in quarantine, and say, I could have stopped this, but I decided to take you to a sports day or have a birthday party? No, I'm sorry. There is nothing that is more important than getting there. And the more of us that get there, the safer it'll be, the stronger our message will be, and the more likely we are to be effective in getting rid of these stupid, discriminatory, bigoted regulations and laws that the government has brought in to institute total control over us. Okay, Melanie says Hobart at 12 p.m. I'm pretty sure Hobart is on that page, Melanie, but if not, please, I'm glad that you've shared that. That's great. Yes, we need to be smart about the protests and be organized. Absolutely. It's an amazing feeling being part of a positive movement. You'll find a fire in your soul you didn't know that you had turn up. Everyone I know who went to Brisbane talked about the spirit and the energy that they felt being part of something. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about being part of something that was so big, being with groups of thousands of people, and they had over 3,000 people there, being part of a group of thousands of people who all felt the same and were all working towards a common goal. Common goal, not gold, sorry. Okay, silly question perhaps, but why is it out at the Olympic Park, out of the way in city center? As far as I know, it is not at Olympic Park in Sydney. I don't know if you got that on the official page that I shared or not. Hang on a second. I think I did have that page open here. Sydney, 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 Freedom Day. Yeah, the Olympic Park is one of the troll pages. That's where the troll page said that it was going to be, and it's not. I believe that they will not be releasing the actual location until just before the event to prevent these sorts of things. But if you read a location anywhere but on the page that I shared, it's a lie. So there are so many trolls out there who I believe are working with the government and working with the police, and they are misadvising people. Redmila, you've asked for the dates. The date is September 5th, which is Saturday. And the Coode Street Jetty in Perth is where it's supposed to be on the 5th of September. So, as far as I know, there's going to be quite a large crowd there. And even in Perth, there are people who are advising people that it's going to be at Parliament House. It is not going to be at Parliament House. It's going to be at the Coode Street Jetty. And Thorin said that the AVN website has that information on it in our latest blog post. I have tried to get who the person who put the post up to change the graphic that has the wrong information for Perth. So, yeah, Penny, I don't think you can delete someone else's post. So as much as it would be good to be able to delete the troll posts, you can't. The only person who can delete that post is the person who made it. So remember the 5th of September. Why am I hearing try to remember the 5th of September? Sorry, I'm getting a little bit silly. I think that I don't know how else to make it clear that our entire future and the future of our children depend on us showing up together on this day. It is one day out of your life. And oh, okay, Penny. I hopefully someone from the AVN is watching and will delete the trolls in the comments. Guys, if I have any AVN moderators watching this, can they please go through and delete the trolls? Yeah, use some troll spray to get that out there. Okay, the street address in Perth is Coode, Coode Street Jetty, South Perth. So I don't know if I'm saying it right, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but it's the Coode Street Jetty, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Saturday the 5th. Look for banners, it says, and bring your own. So yeah, make a banner to come with you. You can just bring a sheet of A4 paper that says hashtag freedom on it. Okay, if it says Olympic Park, I'm going to have to get that changed too, because as far as I know, that is not the correct location. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, Julia. I will make sure that is corrected on the AVN Facebook page as well, because the events that are on that Facebook page where I link to at the top of this broadcast, those are, as far as I know, Okay, good. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad I said it right. It's an odd name. Um, the locations that are on that page, the one with the cheesy smiley face, are the only locations that we have. Okay. You know what? Parliament House, Perth, on the 5th of September is a protest against pedophilia. Bull. That's what I say. That is someone trying to split the movement. Do not go to Parliament House on the 5th. You can protest against pedophilia along with protesting for your rights. So get to the Coode Street jetty and do not go to Parliament House. That these events are being set up by people who do not have your best interests at heart. So do not go to Parliament House in Perth. That is not the place to go. Go to the Coode Street jetty between 11 and 1:15 p.m. Uh, Someone has just shared a location to Berlin. I'm assuming that might be showing the current situation there. I'm not positive, but I think we all need to look to Berlin and see what's happening there, because if they do get 5 million people and they get all those speakers, and today is the 29th here, tomorrow in the UK there's going to be a massive protest with speakers from all around the world coming in by satellite hookups. So keep your eyes on the UK as well. Dublin had an enormous rally. Italy has had huge rallies. So many different countries and so many different cities in the United States as well. So we need, yep, fight for freedom first, then we destroy the pedophilia. Yep. And you know what? It's all the same. It's all the same, because a lot of the people who are pushing this vaccine without choice agenda are also involved in that whole sex child trafficking thing. I mean, we see that in the United States, and I don't think it would be any different in Australia. Christine says, I hope they get as many people as possible, and I hope we in Australia get as many people as possible. We really, really need to go out and speak up. We have no choice at this point, because we need to save ourselves. Nobody's going to save us. We need to do it. And I am over people using excuses to not get out and do this. There is no excuse. If I can drive 10 hours to get to Sydney, then you can drive 3 hours to get to your capital city and stand up for the rights of your family and the families in your community. So, oh, Serbia. Serbia, excellent. And see, these are former Soviet bloc countries. Serbia was a Soviet bloc country, and yet they're getting out in their millions. I saw a picture of that rally in Serbia. It's huge, absolutely huge. Thank you, Melanie. I think that I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it, that we need to do this now. And I know that there are concerns, and I know there are issues. And the only thing that I can tell you is those concerns and issues will disappear if we have 10,000 people at each one of these events. So shoot for that. Everybody go along. Everybody invite everyone you know. And everybody make sure you bring some people with you in the car. Yes, we get one shot at this, Robert. That's absolutely right. Let's make it count. Because look at what's happening in Victoria. People in Victoria are going to go out. They're going to go through police roadblocks in order to get there. They are going to go out in numbers to get to their rally, because they are not going to be locked in their houses. The rest of the states aren't there yet. But if we don't stand up, we will be exactly where Victoria is now. And I don't think any of us wants that to happen. It's a horrible situation. I feel for the people who live in Victoria, who are basically under house arrest for 23 hours a day, who are being forced to be tested, who can't go shopping except during designated hours, who have to wear masks when they go out of their house. Who need an excuse to go out into the sunshine. They can't just go out for a walk whenever they want. We do not want that to happen here. So everyone, you have a week from today, okay? So between now and next Saturday, I'm giving you homework. You all need to share this information as widely as you can, and you need to get there. You need to cancel any plans you have on that day. Call in sick, I don't care. You need to cancel any plans you have on that day, and you need to get to that location. You need to bring at least 2 people, hopefully 3 or 4 with you, and you need to let other people know and encourage them to come as well. And by encourage, I mean twist their arm until they scream out and say they're going to be coming. So thank you very, very much. Yeah, there's no mask requirement or curfew in WA, so protest is entirely lawful. I didn't get a chance to share this with Serene, but I'm going to share it now. This is the Constitution of Australia, the preamble. Another example of how implications from the terms or structure of the Constitution can restrict legislative power was provided in 1992 when the High Court declared invalid a Commonwealth law which attempted to restrict the broadcasting of political advertising. The court decided that the restrictions imposed by that law were inconsistent with a necessary aspect of representative government entrenched by the Constitution, specifically the right to freedom of communication on political matters. The Constitution absolutely guarantees our right to go out and attend these protests. No state law, no federal law can abridge that right. There are not many rights that are guaranteed by the Australian Constitution, trust me, but that right is one that is absolutely in there. If you are a police officer watching this and you are ordered to stop people from going to these protests, you need to make a decision. What did you swear an oath to do? Did you swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of Australia? Or did you take an oath to uphold laws that are contravened by the Constitution of Australia? We are all moral, ethical people at heart, and we all need to be guided by our morals and our ethics, not by orders that tell us that we are not to obey our conscience. We need to obey our conscience. We need to do that. So, yes. Psycho K Skull, I love your name. You're taking Ms. 17, but be careful with your little ones. The police will target you. People are bringing children to many of these things, and I think it's a perfectly safe thing to do as long as there are lots of people there. If you are bringing children with you, I know Brisbane twice had so many little babies and children, and it was completely peaceful and no problem whatsoever. If you are bringing children with you, my only advice to you is get to the center of the crowd. Don't be on the outside. Get to the center of the crowd. It's like a herd. If police are going to be doing something illegal, they will do it on the edge of the crowd. Get to the center. There is protection if you're in the center. So take your children with you by all means, but get to the center. Don't stand on the outside. Don't stand right at the front. Be in the center. I love it. I absolutely love it, Karen. Thank you. Oh, Christina, you're taking your 7. Excellent. That's wonderful. And you know what? It's a good lesson for children, too, to see their parents stand up for what they think is right. My parents did the same. I've done the same with my children. I think we all need to show them that lesson and let them know they're not powerless. Let them know that they determine their own future. None of us are victims. We should stop playing victim. We are not at the behest of the government. We are not here to do their bidding. They are here to do ours. So let's make them listen to us. Let's make them do our bidding. So I just think that we who are watching this now are in a privileged position because we know what is happening. We know what is coming. So let's do it. Yes, and Robert says, be sure to download Serene's documents and have them with you to present to the police. Yes, absolutely. Go to her website, advocateme.com.au. I do have a link to it at the very top of this broadcast. Oh, Keely, you're in for a wonderful day. First protest you've been to. I have been going to protests since I was 15 years old. A rebel from the beginning. So I really think, yes, Fred, I feel for you. I feel for you and Sally Ann. A movement is needed in the Philippines badly because your situation is every bit as bad as Victoria's. And honestly, it is insane what is happening in the Philippines. So, yeah, and Psycho said, sorry, probably the most important one you'll go to, and it is. Our future hinges on a good turnout on this day, on a great turnout on this day. We need thousands and thousands of people. I've said it before, I'm repeating myself, and I'm sorry, but we need everyone to get to these locations and to support the right to freedom of bodily integrity, freedom of choice, and just plain freedom for Australians. Yeah, well, I think, Janet, I think that if 10,000 people showed up at the location where this is going to be held in Victoria, they would take notice. They're not going to take notice if it's a few hundred. They're going to take notice if it's thousands and thousands. So we need to get out there. We just need to get out there. And the rest of Australia is protesting on behalf of Victoria as well, because we know what you're living under right now, and it's shocking. Yep, family of friends in Bali are starving because of these lockdowns. Border controls are shutting down of business. And that's what Fred and Sally Ann in the Philippines have said too. The deaths from COVID are nothing. The deaths from starvation are going to be just, when they're finally counted, the deaths from starvation are going to be making them look minuscule. And just the idea of that. And here in Australia, people have starved to death in aged care facilities since this started, because people, the people who work there are afraid or simply incompetent to take care of them. So we need to do this now. I'm also going to let you know that next Saturday we will not be having Under the Wire at the normal time, because I will be going to the rally, but I will be live streaming from the rally as well. And so, definitely tune in. Make sure you've got a notification set so that you see when we go live. And you can watch me from whatever rally you're at. Okay? So 45% unemployment. Sally Ann says in the Philippines they have 45% unemployment right now. That is horrendous to even think about. Christina said estimated 130 million will die from starvation from these lockdowns worldwide. There are food shortages starting now in the United States, in Canada, and in Australia. It's not that there isn't enough food, it's that it can't get distributed because of all the lockdowns and the border closures. So people are going to starve to death. And if you can prepare, if you have enough money to buy some extra rice, some extra beans, some extra things to keep in your house, it's a really good idea to do that. So yeah, I do. I just feel that we are all sharing, Psycho. We are all sharing. We need to be tough right now. We need to be, I can't even think of the word. There's a word where you are single-minded and moving forward, and that's what we all need to have. We need to get rid of fear, because I am so much more afraid of what will happen if we don't do this than what will happen if we do. So we need to remember peaceful. We need to remember that we are obeying the law because the Constitution is the law of the land, and that gives us the right to do this. And we need to remember that we love our families and that we love our community, and we are acting from a place of love and peace. And if we do that, and if we do that together in large numbers, we will succeed. Focused. Thank you. Hello. That was the word I was looking for. I wasn't focused enough to be focused on that word. So I am going to say goodbye to everyone, because I've kept you on here for almost 2 hours. I'm so sorry. But I hope you enjoyed today's Under the Wire. I just think Serene is the most amazing human being, and she has a lot of knowledge to share. And I will see you all next week, either live or virtually. And I just want to say thank you all in advance for going to your nearest rally and for telling everyone else about it as well. So thank you all. Enjoy your week, and I will see you next Saturday from Under the Wire. Bye bye.